Hey everyone, my name is Pixel, and I want to welcome you to Selene, Apoptosis, our brand new visual novel series that we are going to be going through. This is a horror thriller visual novel with dark secrets, more mysteries, and terrifying elements. So let's see what we can get into here. The sound was driving him crazy. Monotonous, muffled thuds were resonating through his head with dull pain. The pain wasn't too strong, nothing unbearable, but that sound. More than anything else, he wanted the sound to just stop. Thud. Nevertheless, the knocking sounds didn't end. He knew it well enough because he himself was their origin. Thud. 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 Somebody's knocking at our door. The nose of his slipper was hitting the rear of his desk over and over again, like a huge, fluffy mouth frantically ramming against the window glass. He wanted plenty of things. He wanted to pay the rent in time this month, not to displease his landlady again. He wanted to finish the script, at least in draft, because a draft is way better than nothing, something someone can work with. And he wanted to sleep. So he's a millennial. No, not quite that. The problem, a serious one, was that he didn't really want to sleep. He leaned back in his chair and rubbed his shut eyes, pressing his eyeballs until dancing pale lights appeared. Of course, he took the sleeping pills. When a healthy 8-hour sleep gives way to not a not-so-healthy 5-hour nap, then a 3-hour eye-shut break then goes away entirely. You stop thinking about how this will impact your liver. You just want to sleep. You need to sleep, especially if you have already taken an advance payment for the first part of a gig, and then the goddamn text just won't write itself. However, if the text could in fact write itself somehow, he would probably lose his job. He didn't have any illusions in this regard. As soon as neural networks get smart enough, he and dozens of other ghostwriters will vanish into the morning mist of a new era in literature. He didn't have much of a name or connections, only some skill and a knack to meet the deadlines for the most part. The client was content with this, and he was content with the pay, so everything went well until the pills started failing him. Blam! This time, the tic got too strong. His foot jerked and hit the board with a very noticeable pain. Seemed like he even heard his toes crack. He muttered a short curse and rolled the chair away from the desk, although he knew, now that his attention was not fixed on the blank text file, the tic should go away all by itself. It's funny how the consciousness is detached from the body. He often thought about it, especially while having insomnia. It's like you're working as a team, but your partner starts pulling something. You seem to have common goals, but when all hell breaks loose, you're suddenly left alone with it, and your partner is more interested in watching the fire than fighting it. In the end, you have no idea what's on his mind. Well, at least there won't be any more knocking. Good. Not with a hurt foot. A small window at the far side of the room flashed white for a moment. A storm? Now that he thought about it, the day was hot. The vicious, stagnant air still filled the room. This, and the barely audible squeak of an overheated network filter, he became sensitive to such things when he couldn't sleep for a long time, made the entire room seem to vibrate a little, like a cocoon that's about to hatch. Actually, that did sound like a good line. He rolled back to the table and was about to write that thought down, but paused over the keyboard. He remembered the individual words and the general idea, but the sentence had already slipped away. This time, the white light seemed to fill the entire room. Then a thunder followed, resembling a low gut roar of something large and famished. Good Lord. Yeah, good Lord. He called to God way too often for someone who never goes to church. Just a habit he inherited from his mother. A furious patter of raindrops pounded on his window. There's no way he could work like this. Not now. But maybe it's for the best. Since he was a little boy, he slept well during the storms. Had to seize the moment. He groped for a packer of sleeping pills. It's nice to have your working tools at hand. Popped the pills into his mouth and opened the window to hear the steady patter of the rain. He went to the bed and collapsed on top of the bed sheets, his clothes still on. My dude, you need to get some better sleeping patterns, okay? He could tell by the sound of the water had flooded the windsill and was trickling down to the floor. He decided that was a small price to pay. He had a pleasant chill of cloth beneath his cheek. The wavering haze was gradually fading from the room, yet the sleep did not come. He tried to take off his shoes, change position, take a pillow, cover himself, throw the pillow away to the other side of the room. Nothing helped. He just laid there with his eyes closed and thought, then though his closed eyelids felt heavy, he knew it was an illusion. All in vain. He's not sleeping. He can't sleep. Oh, not with pages floating around the room. Thud. At first he thought he was imagining things. Thud. 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 Sometimes the knocking paused, but it never stopped completely. The sound came from below, from the first floor. Someone was banging insistently on the door, and with each thud he could feel the rage building up like a tight knot of pain around his stomach. He is trying to sleep. Is it really that hard to just leave a man alone? At least at night, at least in the house that he pays for, specifically so that nobody would bother him? He opened his eyes, easy, just as he thought, sprang to his feet and ran down the stairs. Something was boiling inside him. Halfway to the door, he took a turn to the cupboard and pulled out an old baseball bat. He wasn't likely to actually use it. He asked himself if he would, as he reached for the door handle. No, he certainly wouldn't, but he's angry, and he wants the night guest to learn it. What the hell? The rain was still pouring, or rather, it was actually getting stronger. As his mother would say, and the floodgates of heaven tore open. His mother used to say a lot of things. That was on the list of reasons why he had to rent this overpriced house where anyone could start banging on the door in the middle of the night. A cat, for example. What the hell? What the hell? What the hell, cat? Oh, it's a girl who has a tail. He said it again, this time aloud. A cat was standing on his porch. She looked like a purebred British shorthair in all respects, except for the color. Why do you keep on calling this girl a cat? Is this just a normal thing that you see? Aside from the smoky gray head, it seemed as if she was dropping into a vat of white paint, while her lower part was dipped into the black one. Wet fur clung to the small, rather skinny body, dripping with water. The cat could have probably slipped into the house as soon as the door opened, but instead she froze, as if waiting for the host to say something. Well, she's polite. Let her in. She seems cold. It was cold outside, much colder than one might think. He didn't feel angry anymore. All right, come in. He stepped aside, freeing the doorway. The cat didn't move. So, you don't want to, huh? He was about to say fine then, close the door, go back to the second floor, and lie in a suffocating half asleep until morning. But he finally realized what was wrong. The bat. He threw it away, aiming for the sofa, but missed. The bat clattered onto the floorboards. She was scared of the bat. The cat followed it into the darkness with her round yellow eyes. The sounds didn't frighten her. He sighed. I won't hurt you. Come on in if you want. The cat raised her eyes at him. For the first time he actually saw, and couldn't help admiring, how big and yellow they were. The cat's pupils were also large and incredibly round, like 2 full moons in an eclipse. Just as he was about to close the door for the second time, the cat murmured something and fluttered into the house, butting him with her wet head as she passed by. He smiled. So none of this is weird to you. You see a full-grown woman right here with cat ears and a tail, and you just keep on referring to her as a cat. I mean, I get it. She has cat features, but she's not a cat. She's a girl. Strictly speaking, at this very moment, his line had ended. The landlady had found out, and he was sure she would. He'd have to look for a new place to live. There are plenty of lonely, bored seniors in the neighborhood, he thought, and they only have 2 hobbies, observing and reporting. The subject and the recipient aren't that important. Well, it's fine. Maybe he'd leave the suburbs. Maybe he'd move into an apartment, since him getting some privacy didn't work out anyway. The rain was getting stronger still. He closed the door. And now we have a cat. The cat explored the house with cautious curiosity, stopping by different objects as if trying to understand their purpose. Watching that was amusing, so amusing that he even forgot about the stain. When he remembered, it has already spread out, a dark spot of water in the place where the cat clung to him. He pulled the wet cloth away from his body and stared at it blankly for a moment, then almost groaned aloud. The cat was soaked, so she probably got a lot of dirt in the house. He decided not to turn on the light. He had enough disappointment for the night. Instead, he went get a towel. "All right, come here." The cat turned her head to the voice and froze in place. She was examining the TV, a lifeless black mirror of a plasma panel and a lacquer frame they hadn't even touched since moving in. In the reflection, the cat herself looked black. She gave him a long, appraising look, and then, with a sudden eagerness, trotted towards him, deftly avoiding the obstacles. He was surprised. Maybe the cat decided he was more interesting than the TV, or maybe she acted out of respect for her host's will. Anyway, he felt grateful. Finally, someone he can actually negotiate with. Suddenly, he thought how nice it would be to crawl under the blanket with a warm bowl of fur. It would surely have helped him to fall asleep. As a child, he had a cat. Gray, huge, brash, immensely ugly, and equally beloved. Was your cat also a human being as well? Is this why this is so familiar to you? You've been here before? He often fell asleep hugging him. The cat's name was Timo, and he faded into a June night many years ago. The cat bumped her wet head against him once more. He thought the cats usually shake off the water themselves. Usually, but perhaps not always. "Hey, easy there. You're all wet." The cat looked at him with her moon-shaped eyes and murmured something again. "Do something about it, then." He smiled and got to work. "Alright, so now the cat's talking to you and you're just like, alright, let's get back to work. Nothing weird here." He had to squeeze through the fur thoroughly, so the towel soon turned into a wet rag. Should he? We got a cleaner. That won't do. I'll give you a bath. Yeah, we gotta bathe the cat. As weird as that sounds. As he carried her into the bathroom, the cat stayed still in his arms, a warm and incredibly light body pressed against his chest. He was expecting the cat to bring out the claws any moment. Maybe as he opens the door. Now? Or as he turns the light on? Maybe this time. But nothing happened. Because it's a human. The cat glanced around the new room and looked at him again with her intelligent, almost human-like gaze. Almost human? This is a special kind of guy. I think the sleeping pills have got to him. Not a single muscle in her small body moved. She was curious, and that was about it. She trusts me. He was about to ask her if she knows where they were and what was going to happen next, but that was just too much. So, shouldn't be very difficult. The two of us can manage this. What do you think? He read somewhere a cat should get used to the new surroundings before bathing. Fear is born out of the unknown, and in that regard, people haven't gone too far from cats. New scents, unfamiliar objects, and the splashing of water. These are just shadows under the bed that will fall back if you get a better look at them. He carefully put the cat on the floor. She looked around the room again and returned her questioning eyes to him. It seemed like she got comfortable enough. He turned on the water in the shower and felt a gentle touch. The cat was already loitering around his feet. She was curious indeed. The shower isn't so bad compared to the rain, is it? The joke came out a little awkward. He felt embarrassed, and he didn't know why. Well, at least she's getting clean now, you know. This human cat person. She's just a cat. No, she's not. She's not a cat, my man. Maybe it was because of how the water glistened on her skin or how she was looking at him from under half-lowered lashes. She was actually watching. He met her eyes and each time felt shame burn through him, but that shame was thick and sweet. He was a little dizzy. His hand slid over the smooth, wet skin, and each time he would ask himself, was it really necessary? So first you talked about drying off fur, and now you're talking about your hands going over smooth skin. What are you on? I don't think those are sleeping pills that you took. I think they were laced with something. Then he would feel her eyes on him, and his thoughts would melt. running down her thighs with the lather disappearing between her neat toes. The bathroom shimmered, molten, bright, pulsating with light. Or darkness. He felt he was losing his balance, and he pulled his hand away, but she returned and pressed it to the wet, hot skins covered in a soapy veil. She guided it. Well, very good. And I think with that, that is where we will leave it off for today. Thank you guys so much for watching. This is off to a weird start. I am not going to lie to you about that. This is off to a very weird start. About this man who sees this cat person, who's definitely a girl, but keeps on calling her a cat. I hope we get some explanation about this in a later episode, because I am just as lost as probably all of you are. So yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoyed what you saw, feel free to like the video. You want to see more content like this, get notified whenever more episodes come out, go ahead and subscribe to the channel. You want to play this? The game's on Steam. Go check it out. It's a free game. Maybe you can make some sense of it. Thank you guys again for watching. I'll see you in the next episode. Bye now.